Hello, everybody. We have a bunch of people joining us in the waiting room, but I'm going to kick off our first webinar for 2026. I'm just going to ask our wonderful Maddie if we are recording yet and let everybody know that we're going to be recording this webinar and make it available to everyone afterwards. Hello. I'm Sam Avataya. I am the proud president for 2026 of SPERA, Society for the Provision of Education in Rural Australia. I got that part right first. I would really like to acknowledge the gorgeous country that I'm here on in Bega, New South Wales, Dirranganj country, and also all the gorgeous countries that everyone is joining us from all over Australia and possibly overseas. We did send our invite to our overseas partners. Pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge that this was, is, and always will be Aboriginal land. And it's a perfect time to have an acknowledgement of country because we're talking about our First Nations award winners for our area series. So if you haven't heard of SPERA before, or this is your first time joining, every 2 years, as part of our national conference, we run the areas, which are Australian Rural Education Awards. And this webinar series is bringing to you some of our winners and highly commended area winners from previous years, 2024, this time. And it's my job to introduce them, but then it's over to you. So if you have any questions for them, please feel free to put your questions in the chat and we'll address as many as we can in our quick half-an-hour webinar time. But if we don't get to them, we will answer all your questions via email and send that out with a recording to all of our members and everyone who's on our information list, because we love getting the word out about rural education. Coming up very soon, we'll open up our areas for 2026 and we'll be having our national conference for rural, regional and remote education, triple R, not double R, coming up in August in beautiful Ballarat. So a little bit more about that at the end, but I'm going to hand over to our wonderful guests and award winners. And first up, we have Amy from Murwillumbah, which we were just saying is lovely and warm there today. And Amy will introduce herself, tell you a little bit about what they're up to in Murwillumbah and her area winning project. So over to you, Amy, and we have some slides to share. Thanks, everyone.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Sam. Thanks for that lovely acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you from the beautiful Bundjalung Nation, and in particular the Talgaigan clan of that nation and the Murwillumbah speaking people as the dialect up this way. So thank you for having me. I'm going to be really conscious of time and try and be really succinct with what I'm sharing, and it really is just about the amazing journey of the language revitalisation and being able to introduce that to the Murwillumbah learning community in 2024 as part of the mandatory LOTE, learning second language as part of the mandatory curriculum in Year 7. So from there, it started in 2023, and I'll just try and give a little bit of a timeline of what happened in that time to the present time now. So I'll just, next slide there, Maddie. So the key initiative was targeting the Year 7 Aboriginal language and history component. And we had an opportunity to, for the first time in our local region, to swap that out from what was being taught at the time, which was Japanese language as part of the mandatory LOTE component, and have it be our local language revitalisation that aligned with the syllabus outcomes. And our priorities were obviously to engage students with local Bundjalung language, and in particular narrowing down into the northern dialect of that, given that we are the northern part of the Bundjalung Nation. And there were lots of layers to it. So this wasn't something that just happened straight away and that, yes, we could just easily get up off the ground. It took a lot of extensive consultation that happened the back end of 2023 with the hope that we would be able to start across the Murwillumbah learning community in 2024, which obviously we did. So my job was to obviously consult with all key stakeholders, develop and devise the program, the teaching program, go out to community to discuss and endorse community members that could actually speak the language and wanted to and felt comfortable entering into the educational space. And then a lot of learning and planning went around designing the core components of that. What we really wanted to hold with integrity was the cultural pedagogy of the space as well. So, and this is something that's probably over time now, being in 2026, it's definitely evolved, and we've done a lot more planning and fine tuning in that space too, and aligning it with the New South Wales Department of Education syllabus outcomes. So we got all that up and going, and the start of 2024, we had 82 Year 7 students, 3 classes across that campus who were the first in our local region to be able to engage in local language learning. So it was really exciting. The whole school community was really proud of it. So were the students and the families and the broader community as well. Let's go to the next slide there. So throughout that time, that whole year, students were able to explore local stories and ways of knowing and being, expressing their learning through drama and movement as well. Again, that's that pedagogy coming in. So we're really mindful of trying to take some of the learning out onto country, because that's where language sits as well, into local stories, local songs, local movement and dance, which became a real highlight for the students as well. The teaching and learning program incorporated elements of truth-telling. This was something that was critical, and we thought it really needed the whole term of that truth-telling element to be unpacked, because the reality is a lot of the students actually didn't know that Aboriginal, why are we having to revitalise language, number one, and the truth-telling behind that. Some of that's quite confronting, because we're asking students of that young age to unpack their own cultural bias, which they don't even realise they have. So really powerful, deep conversations are being had in this space. And also, just around that. So it was genuine opportunities for students to develop their understanding, develop their empathy was a really big component, and their connection. So for all students to connect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people's culture and history, and obviously the local Aboriginal language. Having said that, it was so empowering for the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students in the classrooms, and then that the ripple effect across the school and the community as well, and that sense of pride and belonging to learning. So there was a real shift as well. And again, the cultural pedagogy aligning to the assessments, whether it be the formative or somebody were a little bit harder with the summative, but definitely the formative assessments, we really linked the pedagogy there. Maddie, next one. So I guess the ongoing impact of that. So we had a wonderful and a really impactful 2024 with our 3 classes. At the end of that year, or towards the end of the year, it then was decided that the Murwillumbah Learning Campus was going to demerge, because we had merged, now we're demerging. So it was really critical that we were able to ensure that language revitalisation was sustainable and ongoing now across 2 campuses. I then moved to another school. I was asked to come and help set it up at another high school, local high school in the Tweed area. And so we did that last year, and that was an additional 5 Year 7 language classes. And also I then worked in the neighbouring primary school across the P to 6. So it was a really beautiful transition as well, of the students in Year 6, and from last year heading into Year 7, they'd already had that connection with language, which is really powerful, because the same language tutor that was here at the primary school was also across at the high school in the Year 7 space. So that's it. We're probably looking at now well over 150 students in our local language every day being impacted and doing some really deep learning in the language space. And actually at the primary school, it was also then introduced to our support unit classes to making sure we're being inclusive there. And we did start doing trying to link up language with sign as well, which was a really exciting space, which is ongoing. So 2026, all those language classes are still really sustainable. We keep building. We're now trying to collaborate together to ensure the programming, we can keep building on it, sharing it. The challenges are our language tutors, and really trying to make sure that we are supporting the capacity building of our language tutors as cultural knowledge holders in the education environment, because they're two really different spaces. And it can also be challenging in Year 7 because they're learning this beautiful sacred language, and sometimes maybe they're not ready for it. So working through that. The primary school has been really great. It's also building our non-Aboriginal staff their capacity, and they're empowering them to belong and feel connected, and that they can share this as well in part of the revising, not the actual delivering. I must have taken out another slide too, but just ensuring the success of it were definitely those two things. Working with community in partnership. This is really important work, but sometimes patience is key. Understanding that it's not going to happen overnight. Then maybe not everybody agree. Language is diverse for every community. Every person, even in that community, there might be differences and things like that. So it's really trying to work out the who and the how and what everybody feels safe with delivering. Yeah, I think that's about it. I've probably missed things. I don't know if there's any questions at this point. I've left time for 4 questions.
Wonderful. I have a question, Amy. I haven't got any questions in the chat yet, so if anyone else has a question, please pop it in and we can go over to you. But while you were talking, I was wondering, are you funded by the Department of Education? Is this a Department of Education program, or how does that sort of work?
We're not funded, separately funded. It was really at the time the principal having the vision that this could be potentially an opening to change or to swap the mandatory languages other than English component of Year 7, so the Stage 4 part, and could it be a possibility, just started through conversation of that changing to local language, local Aboriginal language, given that now their syllabuses K to 12 around it. So there was no separate, and then the language just swapped over in that space. In terms of the primary school, again, it's really something that local schools and the principals decide that this is something that they believe in is really important work, and they're willing to invest the staffing or the commitment. And the language here in the primary school, it's not. It's really seen as really important, valued learning, because it's part of the timetable of the week. Every class have opportunity. We've got a language room up in here where the language tutor comes, and every class is designated their time every week where they come up, and it's part of their core learning. So no funding, really principal vision, I would say.
That's amazing. We do have a question in the chat from Tari, Biripi country. If I'm saying that right, I might not be saying that right, but it was nice that they acknowledged that country. They were wondering if you also worked with the AECG, or if you have AECG in your schools.
Definitely work with AECG. Yep. So that was part of the initial consultation, taking it to AECG to present to members, to community, to say this is how we're thinking. What do you think? Definitely a really important part of the process. Yep, critical actually. And AECG are trying to also build capacity of language tutors, because they realise this is something that a lot of schools or spaces or educational environments would love the opportunity to embed or incorporate or deliver. So AECG are trying to do that as well, but they definitely need to be part of the process.
Wonderful. We're right on time, so you've done very well. I'm going to let Amy relax, but if anyone has any more questions for her, you can put them in the chat or email them through to our team, and we can pass them on. But thank you very much, Amy. Oh, I see little claps.
Thank you.
Over our group. I'm going to hand over now to David and Sam, who are joining us from the Orange Regional Conservatorium of Music. As you can see, it's the chairs in the background. They're in an auditorium. So I'll hand over to you now, David and Sam, and you can share your slides.
Thank Thank you so much, Sam. And thanks for having us to be able to talk about this for today.
Yes.
So this is Samantha Bartholomew. She's
Hi.
the head of voice, head of ECM, early childhood music, and the conductor of the Woolloogooree Choir. And I'm David Shaw. I'm the executive director here at the Orange Regional Conservatorium. I'd just like to start with an acknowledgement as well. So we are acknowledging that we're on the Wiradjuri lands, and we acknowledge them as the traditional custodians on which the Orange Regional Conservatorium stands. And we honour our First Nations by fostering a shared sense of belonging for all Australians. We acknowledge that our music making takes place on ancient lands where First Nation artists have sung, danced, and told stories for thousands of generations. We believe in the power of music to share the truth, and we understand it's our responsibility to listen. So just to put a bit of context around who we are, where we are, Orange is about 300 kilometres west of Sydney, and it is on Wiradjuri country, which is one of the largest Aboriginal Indigenous areas in Australia. The Orange Regional Conservatorium is one of 17 regional conservatoriums across the state of New South Wales. And on Wiradjuri itself, we have one in Dubbo, in Bathurst, in Young, in Wagga Wagga. And we collaborate as a network unique in Australia and quite unique across the world to be able to provide regional music education to as much of the area of the state as we possibly can. It's almost 40% of the population of New South Wales is regional. So there's a lot of things that we are doing here that otherwise would be very, very difficult to reach. So it's our responsibility to build community in our regions. And for Orange, that's in Orange, in the surrounding areas of Orange, and in collaboration across the Wiradjuri country with other regional conservatoriums and communities that we have there.
So
That's fine.
we began with the Woolloogooree in 2021 after a conversation with the Lands Council and our then director Donna Riles. It was founded in 2021, which was an interesting time because we had one term of rehearsals, and then lockdown occurred, and so we saw 20 girls, 10 from two schools, lower socioeconomic primary schools, coming along and had a great time for one term, and then didn't get to see them until 2022. This choir was and still is involving girls with the intention. We have got a didgeridoo program happening, but that's not through the conservatorium. And for the con, we've been covering the costs for most of what happens, at least the Orange Regional Conservatorium's costings. And we had 1 year of funding through the schools, but we've come up against with the cutting to school funding, lack of teachers, and travel costs. Where we grew in 2024, we grew to 9 schools being involved in the choir, and now we've gone down to 4. And hoping that we're trying to create whatever we can to make it easier for schools to be involved in the choir. In that first year, we had, I think, 2 performances in that first term. And have had many, many more performances since then. Yeah. So the purpose, what we all hold, both teachers, because we have, David will talk about the personnel involved, but we all hold strongly to everyone is equal. And they come to the ORC to sing. They come here so that they lose school. So they're not, they're part of this group, not individual schools coming to this group. They learn to sing in Wiradjuri and in English. A lot of these children don't have choirs at their schools, so they don't have that experience of singing. Relationships and friendships are very much built through the group, and one of the great purposes of this group is that they develop friendships that will then go into high school. So they've got those support networks being developed here. And So yeah, collaborative engagement occurs on the school, that we've already spoken to that, and bridging the gaps, deliberately spreading out to school students. Yeah, when we start our rehearsals, we stand in a circle, and all the choristers, all the girls need to stand next to someone from another school. They have to spread out so that they are engaging with other schools, as well as knowing that they are the one group, not coming from that individual school. All students participate in the joy and transformative power of music. And Yindamara is something that we speak about every week. That respect is something that we foster, we develop, and we have for each other as well as for those outside of the group.
So as I think Amy mentioned as well, projects like this never can be undertaken lightly, and they need a lot of people involved to make it work. So we have at the Conservatorium our staff here that work, but the key people who are involved in the project are Sam as the conductor of the choir. We have a qualified language teacher, Tammy Wilson, who is attached to one of the public schools that is involved, but in recent years has actually had to undertake this work volunteer, because the school can't support her in that role anymore. And Mary Croker, who is the president of the AECG and the Indigenous Advancement Strategy Coordinator at Verto. So those three people, Sam, Tammy, and Mary, are kind of the linchpins of the choir, but they are supported by a host of people who are involved in the project as well. Every single week, teachers come from the schools to bring their girls in buses, or they even collaborate together to get them here any way they possibly can. So we get the SLSOs and the teachers on release from the schools. And we meet with the school principals on a very regular basis, so that they are involved in the process. They understand it's not just something they send kids to and they leave the school and come back in a couple of hours. It's a project for their school and for their students as well. And so it was set up under the previous director, Donna Riles, with Tim Cummins as our finance manager here at the Conservatorium, and it's been absolutely wonderful to keep it going. But it's a huge team. It's really, really important to be able to approach all of these people at their level and what they need and what they want to see from the choir to go forward, so that it can continue to have the success that it has. That's it, I think.
Going forward, yes.
Oh, no, going forward. Sorry.
Forward, yeah, the future. So we very much desire, not just us at the Conservatorium, but the teachers involved as well, desire to have all 20 public schools involved in this choir. We originally had just I think 5 to 10 singers. We had restricted the numbers so that everyone could feel that they owned the space and owned the choir, but have realised that is something that is restrictive to the schools bringing their students along. So we've just opened it up and said, however many, if you want to bring a bus of 30 kids, that's fine. We'll have you singing with us. We want to engage further with the Wiradjuri language, not just in Orange, but further. There is a language nest in Dubbo that we would love to connect. We've talked about those connections, but it takes time. Engagement and support of other Wiradjuri language choirs. We would love, love to have the other conservatoriums that are based in the Wiradjuri area be involved, come along, and so again, planting the seed. Know that lots of conversations need to happen before this happens. Future commissions. We've already had one commission. The wonderful Dan Walker composed. He came out and spoke to the girls. I think that was 2023. Had chats with the girls, chatted with our elders, and created a piece that is just for the girls to sing, called Nina Numbaijul, which is In This Place. It's a very, very special song, and very happy looking forward to more future commissions for the girls to sing. Other pieces that we've had, Tammy has translated into Wiradjuri for them to sing from English. And yeah, so and there's one very special piece that's very dear to her that we've just launched into learning right now. Yeah, we'd love to see HSC music students go and do a full performance in language too. Community engagement, celebration by parents. It's been a fantastic project, as well as engagement that the Orange Regional Conservatorium have had in the community, and very excited to see where it leads to. A performance dream is at the Sydney Opera House, and Mary Croker is very, very passionate about us getting there. Yeah.
So that's about it. The Woolagaray Choir itself, we didn't actually say what it was or what it means. Woolagaray means voice of change. And that's what we do believe that this choir is for these students. It's an opportunity for them to sing in language and embrace the language of the land that we're on. And it's allowing a space for that to happen where a generation ago it was very different space.
Yeah.
So being able to embrace this, being able to explore language through music, through song, and with all these students is one of the most important sort of tenets of the choir. So we get the chance to host it here at the Conservatorium, and we involve all these schools, and we hope that this is a bit of a blueprint for anybody else to be able to pick up and take into their community and work with. So thank you very much for letting us speak.
Thank you so much, Sam and David, and you were pretty much bang on time, so I'm very impressed. I haven't seen a question in the chat yet, but me being nosy me, I've got lots of them. The T-shirts that the students are wearing in some of the photos, are they for the choir or were they part of another program?
I don't think we've got our T-shirts there. These were part for NAIDOC Week.
Yeah.
But we do have a T-shirt. So if we go back to the last slide, we have a T-shirt that has the voice of change on the T-shirt. I think it's quite big on the back of the T-shirt, and that was designed by Tammy and Mary. I think they designed it. So it's showing the five schools that were involved in the first place, and then engaging other groups as we grow over the years. So that's so it's great. So whenever they go out in public, they've got these T-shirts on to represent. Yeah.
Beautiful. I've got two more quick questions and then we'll wrap up. And I also just want to let everyone know that in the chat we have a quick survey that we're just asking everyone to fill in if you have time before we close off today. Susan was asking about why boys aren't in the choir. I think you mentioned you have a didgeridoo group for the boys. Is that right?
That's right. That was the original plan that was talked about through with Auntie Mary Croker, as well as the con, was to have the boys go and do didgeridoo and the girls do singing, and we were going to perform together. The gentleman who was teaching didgeridoo is very busy and was everywhere, so we didn't get that program up and running. Boys, we've discussed boys coming into the group on and off over the years. As from a singing perspective, we'd have to get the boys in younger, because we've started with year fives. To have them into the group and engage them, we'd probably need to look at them coming in year three before it starts not being so cool to sing.
I like that. I have two sons and I totally relate to that. I'm going to have to close off, but there is another question in the chat that we'll pass on to you. But we're going to make sure we stay on time with our half-hour webinars. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming along today, and we will be sharing the recording with the whole invite list. But I've just had a few great ideas about including both of these initiatives into our next conference in August. So we'll be in touch, and hopefully you've been inspired to apply for an award yourself, or maybe nominate some other program that you've heard of. We'll be having another webinar in March from our area awardees, and we'll reach out to you soon, and we hope to see you all in August in Ballarat. Thanks, everyone. Happy days in rural, regional and remote education. See you soon. Thank you.